my name's Kevin Penner. I'm a science teacher from Swan River, Manitoba, and I am going to watch the total solar eclipse down in Wyoming. Now, if you look at the map, you'll notice that the trip is starting in Saskatoon, and you're probably wondering why it doesn't start in Swan River. Well, there's a bit of a story behind that. I have to start with something that I read on Facebook about 3 months ago. A friend of mine, Andrew Jones, said that he was planning on going down to the States to watch the August 21st eclipse, and he was wondering who would join him. Well, being a astronomy buff like I am, I said, hey, I'm in. But then we got this wedding invitation for our niece April in Saskatoon for August 20th, and I thought, well, that's okay. If she's getting married on a Saturday, that'll give us Sunday to drive down and we'll be good to go. But then I thought, wait a minute, if the eclipse is on a Monday on the 21st, that means she's getting married on the Sunday. Oh, then I have to drive all night, and there's no way I can do that. So I kind of gave up on the idea. But about a week ago, I thought, well, how long would it take? And of course, I got Google Maps out, and it told me that the distance was to Douglas, Wyoming. The closest place on the path of totality was 1,240 kilometers, and I could do it in a bit more than 12 hours of driving. So I thought, 12 hours. I thought the ceremony is at 3, and if I get away by 5 in the afternoon, I'd have to miss the reception, sorry. I could have about 16 hours to drive the 1,240 kilometers. That would give me maybe an hour or two to get some sleep along the way, and I'd get there with an hour to spare. So I got everything going in gear, and that's brought me to where I am today, on my way. Andrew, with his wife and some friends of his, drove down to Idaho the other day, where they're going to watch tomorrow's eclipse from the top of a 5,000 foot high mountain that they can hike up to. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what they see, because apparently when you're up higher, it's easier to see the moon's shadow racing across the landscape at over 3,000 kilometers an hour. It should be quite spectacular. I chose Douglas, Wyoming because it's the closest place, and it's not quite as big as Casper, Wyoming, the second biggest city in Wyoming. That's going to be crazy. Crowds, congested. They've been partying all week waiting for it. I figure Douglas, it's a town of about 6,500. We'll have all the amenities, but maybe not quite as crowded. That's one thing I really have no idea about, and that's how much traffic there'll be on the roads. That's one thing I don't have any control over. Don't have any control over the weather. The forecast is for mostly sunny. Lots of farming still happening. Getting to be the end of August. The wheat for sure is getting harvested. Where we're heading though, there's not much of anything growing but scrub brush and bushes. A lot of rock. I believe it's a part of Wyoming's oil patch. Badlands. Not a lot of rain. Not a lot of people. Just a whole lot of highway. By the way, if at any time you get tired of listening to me blah 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 blah, you can jump ahead to the time that's listed at the bottom of your screen, and it will take you right to the time of the actual eclipse. Well, here we are, barely an hour into the trip, and I've experienced my first twinge of sleepiness. Normally, when that happens, I reach for the sunflower seeds. I was really hoping I was going to have to go for that this early. That's what happens when you only get 6 hours of sleep the night before. When it comes to getting sleepy while driving, I have to say my dad had problems with that. But my mother was cruel. When she noticed his eyes drooping, she'd pull his beard, and he would yelp. I know from experience, I sometimes will slap my face. You'll see later on tonight me doing that. Doesn't really help. But I mean, my dad almost died a few times. Although I think the worst time was when my Auntie Marnie, my stepmother, was driving. They were both fast asleep. They woke up to find themselves bombing along in the ditch on the other side of the road, 100 kilometers an hour, cruise control still going, and they didn't roll the car, they didn't hit anybody, they didn't hit an embankment. It's amazing.
In 500 meters, turn right onto Saskatchewan 2 South.
Because I only decided on the trip about a week ago, I wasn't able to tell everybody about it, and my pastor, Ron Thiessen, was unaware that I was going, and so he asked me the other day if I could prepare a short talk about the upcoming eclipse and how it demonstrates God's power and His glory. And I said, well, I'm actually not going to be there on Sunday because I'm going to be on my way to Wyoming, but I'd be happy to put together a video. The pastor had put me onto this podcast where Jay Richards, one of the authors of a book called The Privileged Planet, was talking about how there was some quite amazing coincidences associated with solar eclipses, and it put into words a lot of the things that I had been thinking. And so I went online and I found that there was also a video with the same title, Privileged Planet, and I incorporated some of the trailer. I could talk more about it, but I think I'll just show you the video that showed at our church this morning. As scientists search for planets around other stars, we are reminded of how unique our Earth actually is. In their book, The Privileged Planet, authors Jay Richards and Guillermo Gonzalez describe how at least 20 conditions had to be just right, otherwise life would not be able to exist on our planet as we know it.
We find that we need to be at the right location in the galaxy, that we're inside the circumstellar habitable zone of a star, that we're in a planetary system with giant planets that can shield the inner planets from too many comet impacts, that we're orbiting the right kind of star that's not too cool or not too hot, that we're on a planet that has a moon that can stabilize the tilt of its axis, that we're on a planet that's a terrestrial planet, a planet that has a crust that's just thick enough that it can maintain plate tectonic activity, but it has enough heat in its interior that it's still circulating its liquid iron core so it can generate a magnetic field, that it has an atmosphere that has enough oxygen to allow for complex organisms to survive, that it has enough water and enough continents to allow for the diversity of life or an active biosphere that you need to support complex creatures such as ourselves. All these factors have to be met at one place and time in the galaxy if you're going to have a planet as habitable as the Earth, which you need for complex and even technological life.
The trailer goes on to talk about how improbable it is that all these factors exist in the same planet where there just happens to be intelligent beings such as ourselves that are able to look out at the universe with a sense of wonder and curiosity and try and figure things out. There is nothing in nature that evokes the same sense of wonder and curiosity as a total solar eclipse. But there's a major coincidence not mentioned in the trailer that is at work here. Here we have the sun and the moon, familiar objects in the sky. Every now and then they line up just perfectly. And it turns out that the moon's disk is exactly the same size as the sun's disk to exactly cover it up. If the moon was any smaller or farther away, it wouldn't completely cover up the sun's disk, which would obscure that glorious corona that comes into view at the time of totality. If the moon was any bigger or closer to the Earth, it would obscure too much of the sun, and we wouldn't see that corona either. So I believe that this coincidence was actually created by God for our enjoyment and for scientific discovery. I bet you there's going to be some atheists watching the eclipse tomorrow, and in spite of themselves, they're just going to go, "Oh my God," when totality begins. It's an amazing spectacle. More than that, though, there are some scientific discoveries that were only possible to be made during the time of a total solar eclipse. And so I believe God put it there so that we could discover these scientific facts. I'll let you look up more. I need to get going. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Wyoming watching the eclipse from down there, about 20 minutes after Andrew Jones and his wife and friends, as they see it from the top of a mountain in Idaho. When we get back, we'll be sure to share our stories and pictures with you. But until then, thank God for the amazing coincidence of the solar eclipse that he put up there just for us. As you can tell, I am a person of faith. I see the handiwork of God in nature, in the universe, in life itself. You may not particularly believe that. Maybe you think that all these things happen by themselves and coincidences. But I have to say that eclipses do evoke a sense of holy wonder. And I, for one, am really looking forward to this spectacle. What I use to defend against sleepiness, my main line of attack is sunflower seeds. The second thing is listening to podcasts. And the third thing is engaging people in conversation. Now, unfortunately, nobody was able to join me on this trip, so the conversation is kind of one-sided between me and you watching this video. And you might get tired of me blah blah blahing about everything. So if at any time you get tired of it, just go to this time. It's on your screen, and that's where the actual solar eclipse will start. Yesterday we were on our way to Saskatoon for the wedding that I was telling you about, and we listened to Quirks and Quarks, and who should come on, of course, than Bob McDonald. He's on his way. He's driving his motorcycle down to Casper, Wyoming, which is just less than an hour down the highway from Douglas. And I'm so tempted to get onto Twitter and maybe try and contact him and find out where he's setting up. But I think Casper will be pretty congested, so maybe I'll just stay put in Douglas. So I'm going all the way down to watch an eclipse, and I don't even have a pair of solar glasses to use. I started phoning places in Swan River, and there was nothing. The optometrists were all out. Nobody else had them. Even the welders didn't have what I was looking for. I phoned up a whole bunch of places in Saskatoon, and they were all sold out. Apparently some people had bought extras. They were like $2 or $3 originally, and they were selling them for $40 on Kijiji. Well, I want to really thank the guy at Grazer's Manufacturing. He lent me a high quality plastic welder's lens with a gold film on one side. The gold, shiny gold, reflects a lot of the infrared heat, and it allows me to video in original color, real color, not green like a lot of the welder's lenses. And there is, right in front of me, a truck right in my way. Got out of the way just in time. Yeah, I hope we don't have any close calls here.
Use the right lane to take the Trans-Canada Highway ramp, then merge onto Trans-Canada Highway. Continue on Saskatchewan 1 East for 10 kilometers.
Okay, well, I'll keep on talking here. Not exactly sure what I'm going to do when I get to Douglas, Wyoming. I don't really know the town. I looked a little bit on Street View and Google Maps, but I'm gonna hopefully have time to look around and look for some guys maybe with some video cameras or telescopes, people who are the same interests as myself, and maybe I'll introduce myself. You should see my t-shirt that I made. I'll introduce myself and maybe make some connections there, because I think something like this is best watched as a group. They say that once totality happens, they say it's like the lights going down in a theater, that everybody just erupts into cheers and gasps, and we'll see. I'll probably be the one doing the most cheering. I can't wait!
Turn right onto Saskatchewan 39 South, Saskatchewan 6 South, signs for Weyburn. Continue on Saskatchewan 39 South for 4 kilometers. Turn right onto Saskatchewan 6 South, signs for Regway, United States border. Continue on Saskatchewan 6 South for 115 kilometers.
Here we are coming to the American border. Normally you just stop at the US side, but I'm going to stop at the Canadian side to declare my video equipment. Well, we got through Canadian customs pretty quick. I took about 20 minutes to register the video cameras, laptop and stuff. Then on the American side, of course, was immigration, and that was pretty quick, but it sure got dark in a hurry out in the boonies, and so I probably won't be talking too much. I'm not sure how bright this is. Let's see how bright it is with my ooh, that's ghostly. Anyway, I won't be driving. I won't be talking while I'm driving. Okay, so talk to you later. Well, I'm leaving the first town I visited on the American side, Plentyville. Stopped to clean my windshield, all the bugs. 20 after 9, and all systems are go. So here we are. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm 2 hours south of the border, in a place called Sydney, Montana, and it has 24-hour gas, which I was I checked it up before I left, because all the other places so far, they're not open on Sundays, or they're closed at 9, and I knew I had enough gas to get here, but not enough to get to the next place, so I was very relieved. And I bought myself some hot dogs. Keep me going. Talk to you later. Lightning in the distance. There's thunderstorms just after 11:30 at night. I'm doing okay so far. Well, folks, here we are. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I am getting tired, just as I predicted I would. Oh, I've been listening to podcasts just about non-stop since crossing the border 4 hours ago. Oh, I tell ya. I think it's time to pull out my bag of tricks. Is the sunflower seeds too many? I have this theory that I'll stay awake as long as I keep talking. So it might be nonsense stuff like, I'm a little Hindu. I do all I can do. Wear my shirt and pants don't meet. I have to make my skin do. I don't want to keep this up too long, because the speed limit here is actually 80 miles an hour, which is 130 kilometers an hour. Of course, I'm not going that fast. I'm only doing about 110. But I have to say, I like the roads here. They got a lot of good reflectors. They got rumble strips in the middle and the side if you drift off at all. But okay, what else? How about this one? Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. So Betty Botter bought some butter, better than the bitter butter. Now Betty Botter's bitter butter batter's better. Now that's a basic British accent. Then of course is the northern accent, which is where my mom came from. Betsy Botter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. So Betty Botter bought some butter, better than the bitter butter. Now Betty Botter's bitter butter's batter's better. I don't know what's going on. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. 911, hello? I'm driving down the highway and I'm hallucinating. Alright, what else? Okay, now I can do Australian. The thing that I always say to get me going on Australian is, I remember one day in the outback, we ran out of water. I was so thirsty, I thought I was gonna die. Well, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I've just had 2 hours of sleep, so I'm feeling really crappy, sort of like you feel like on the transatlantic flight and you've had the big meal and you watched the movie and you slept for an hour and now they're waking you up with hot towels and breakfast and 1 more hour till you land, and yeah. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Well, here we are in a place called Broadus, Montana. Saw about 12 deer on the side of the road. Fortunately, only 2 of them were actually on the road. But I stopped for coffee and the lady said, nah, you don't have to pay for it, which it's actually pretty weak, but I'm not complaining because it's free. Maybe I'll get some better stuff farther along the road. As soon as the sun starts coming up, I'm going to get a nice time lapse, so we'll be watching that next. Well, sometime last night we passed into Wyoming. We're now in a place called Gillette. I just filled up the tank with gas, or actually didn't quite fill it up. I misplaced my credit card. Don't tell Carolyn. I put it in my shirt pocket. I never do that after the last time getting gas. So I tried my debit card and it wouldn't work. So fortunately I had cash, 25 bucks, filled up the tank pretty much. So it's looking like a good day. There is some cloud, some high altitude cloud, but I don't think anything's gonna stop us now. Yeehaw! Well, we're on the home stretch now. I just saw a sign saying no more gas stations for 75 miles. So I'm glad that I have an almost full tank. I have to say I've been very impressed with the quality of the roads. Even going through the most barren areas, they've got passing lanes, they've got rumble strips in the middle and the side, they got reflectors all the way along, not just on the corners. For only having 2 hours of sleep, I would say I'm doing not too bad. but I gotta stay vigilant all the way. Looks like I'll be pulling into Douglas about 9:15. I'll maybe buy some breakfast and find out where the best place in town is to view the eclipse with a few other eclipse chasers. Well, like I predicted, the traffic north of Douglas here is very sparse. There's not a lot of people north that would be coming down to see the eclipse. I'm guessing most of the traffic will be from the south. As soon as we hit I-25, which will be in about an hour, then I'm expecting the traffic to pick up. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know what Google Maps was talking about driving this in 12 hours. Maybe if I'd gone the 80-mile-an-hour speed limit last night, maybe stopping for gas twice. Yeah, it's not possible. Still, I had enough time. It worked out. Well, there's more of a cavalcade of cars going now, and the ones I've seen are pretty full. Most of them are heading in this direction. It's just trucks going the other way. Here we are. I think this is Douglas. I just saw 2 planes landing on the field on the right of the highway here. I want to find out where there might be a crowd of people. I think it'd be cool to hear their reaction. So it's a beautifully clear day. A bit of smoky haze in the background, but apparently a bunch of cyclists. Everybody's coming to Douglas, Wyoming. It's right on the band of totality. This is where the traffic is getting very congested. I didn't know it would start this early, but it's only about 2 hours away. From Texas, you were saying?
Oh yes, we're from Austin and go here over a 2-day period. Spent the first night in Wichita, second night in Nebraska, and just waiting for the magic moment.
Okay, have you seen any other total eclipses before?
Seen an annular eclipse in around El Paso, back about the early 1990s or so. This is my first total, so I'm all excited.
Okay.
And this is a prep for 7 years from now, because in 7 years from now there'll be another solar eclipse that'll go right through my territory.
Oh, excellent.
And so I just got my front yard.
Twice as long too, 4 minutes, I understand.
4 minutes, yes. So I'm looking forward to that. So if I screw up here, I got one more chance, assuming I can live that long.
Well, that's something to
something to live for.
Yeah. So we got here a solar telescope.
Yeah, it's designed just for doing looking at the sun, nothing else. Try anything else, it's going to be totally black. So there's a special filter in the front called an etalon, which is an interference filter, and it isolates certain individual wavelengths. And as it goes back further, then it cuts out more of those, and eventually it cuts out the infrared back here in the back with the eyepiece is down here. And then what's left is one little tiny wavelength of light at 635 nanometers.
Quite red, in the red spectrum.
It's a red-orange spectrum, yes. Yeah. Because the tighter you can make that particular wavelength that hydrogen gives off when the electron loses energy as it drops down from orbital 3 to 2, then it gives off that wavelength of light, and that allows you to see certain things in the surface of the sun that you couldn't see when all the other wavelengths are dominating. Wow,
I've never seen this. That's awesome. And you got a camera all set for the still shots?
Yeah, this is just a regular plain Mylar solar filter, just a telescopic lens on a gimbal mount, and just homemade, obviously. And then when the totality comes, you take that off. And, said bracket the heck out of the exposures.
Right, that's the bracketing you were talking about.
Right, so you take a lot of different exposures, a lot of different times.
Because this one's always good.
That one's always good, except during totality.
Right.
And then everything disappears.
Yeah.
But and that's to this thing.
But it'll come back in 2.5 minutes.
Right.
My daughter, she's a school teacher, and she kind of is the driving force behind this. And she made reservations for our hotel in January and said, I'm going. And she talked to the family and said, who's coming? And I said, you know, we kind of said, I'm in. So we've been planning to come since then. And but we just got t-shirts. We're just kind of having fun and excited about it.
We're from Denver, and
It's our first
eclipse. And the biggest reason I decided to come was I saw a TED Talk from a guy who said,
the most awe-inspiring spectacle in all of nature. And so the advice he gave me was this: before you die, he said, you
owe it to yourself in your life to see a total solar eclipse.
I watched the exact same one.
Yeah.
But I had already just decided to go, and I was washing the dishes and listening to the audio, and I'm going, yeah. See, I had to tell my wife, Carolyn, that's why I've got to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, looks like I made it. I've met people already from Colorado and Texas, and everybody's converging on the spot. First contact, which is when the moon just starts to nibble on the sun's disk, is happening within minutes. So I'm going to get the other camera going. Oh, it is now? Yep. Yeah, I think you got a sharper image than I do.
Ask that gentleman maybe a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Very
Look at
careful.
the lower left-hand corner. You feel
Sir,
a
can I
little
change
tight
you for one that aren't bad?
Considering you see some sunspots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's inverted, that is.
I see the trunk, Mark. It's a very small amount. It's coming. I see it.
It's going to take an hour and 20 minutes to go all the way across.
Look.
Yeah, you can stretch.
Is it the top right?
Yeah, it's
Okay, and now I see it too.
It was nice. It's a good trip. I like the landscape. You know, no trafficked highways and stuff. So
You're from Saskatoon. How long did you take to get down here?
2 days.
So you're more sane than I am.
Well, we intended to have a little bit of a holiday at the same time.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it was nice. It was
Gonna
a good
check
trip.
out,
I've never seen so much dry grass in my life.
where are you folks from?
Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, no kidding. You guys
Yeah.
came a long ways. How long it takes you to drive here?
We didn't drive here, we flew.
We flew into Denver, and then we rented a car, and actually we made an adventure out of it. We went to Wounded Knee, Mount
That sounds like a
Rushmore.
good way to do it. I drove 14 hours pretty much straight.
From Canada?
Yeah.
What part of Canada?
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan?
Yeah, we ran into somebody yesterday that did the same
Yeah,
thing.
just the folks right over there. Yeah, it's not wasting any time. It's cruising. Somehow I imagine it being slower.
Hello. I'm from Lakeway, Texas, 26 miles southwest of Austin, Texas, and we're here for the grand event. Andy and I have been traveling for 2 days. We're really excited. I hope to go home and make a quilt to commemorate this wonderful event. We have met some wonderful people from the crazy Canuck that's making this video to see the grand eclipse of 2017. I'm a retired RN. I practiced for 43 years and I did heart transplants. I worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs in adjudication and just traveled all over. And people are my thing. I love people.
Okay.
For the record, I was here for my first total solar eclipse, and this is Michael Celine, the welder, coppersmith.
Excellent.
I'm Eric. I'm from Boulder, Colorado, and we're here at the big total eclipse in 2017. There's lots of people from different areas, such as this intrepid young man from Canada, and we're watching it happen. So.
All right. So, it's cruising right along. It seemed to be moving fast, but totality isn't for another hour. So, comparing notes with a lot of people here, exchanging addresses. We'll send each other pictures and videos. Oh, it's awesome.
So that when I see the path where the guys go across the
There you go. I got my share.
Denver, or you'll try to either go to the bottom or the top. I don't know which one.
Thanks for letting us look.
So is your camera on a motor?
Unfortunately, no. I got to keep adjusting it. So what I'm going to do on the computer is center it. Right now, there's not a lot of tension because it's still a ways to go, but the tension will be mounting as it gets closer to totality. And when totality comes, I'm going to be a nervous wreck. I know I should not bother trying to video it, but I have to. I'm just going to whip that cardboard mask off and hope for the best. Did I stare at the sun? Everything's looking a bit darker. What's going on? Well, I don't know if you can tell on the video because it's auto exposure, but everything is starting to look dim. Like it looks like I've got my glasses on even when they're off. Something's happening. And we can't stop it.
When it gets to totality.
Well, I think, I wonder if that was a girl.
So is it my imagination or is it getting darker?
Is it?
You gotta take your sunglasses off.
Is it getting darker? Yes, it is.
It is, isn't it?
Not a good church of that.
You can feel the temperature dropping.
I think so.
The only good thing is, though, if I didn't know this was happening, I thought
It might be just my imagination, but it also feels a bit cooler. Now, it wasn't a real hot morning to begin with, but they say that when the disk starts getting close to totality, that sometimes the breeze starts up or stops or changes direction, gets cold, a bit cooler. I think it's happening. What I'm mainly going to hear where that other camera is not everybody cheering, it's going to be those trucks over there.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sure the cheers will be louder than the trucks. As the sun gets more and more like a crescent, you can actually see that all the little lights coming through that pinhole are all crescent shaped. Sometimes if you stand under a tree, all the spaces between the leaves look like crescents right at the end. The time is now 11:30, which means it's 14 minutes till totality. 14 minutes till totality. Well, here we go. I'm not going to turn this camera off until after totality. It's definitely dimmer now. The sun is going to be a very thin crescent. There's still 10 minutes to go before totality, though. Gotta keep rehearsing in my mind. Whip off the cover. Fix it.
You can always take the video and put chunks out of it. Kind of laid it right on there.
Actually, I was even adjusting it as it was videoing. It's going to be tough to keep this in there during totality.
tension is almost unbearable. I'm going to manual illumination because it was looking too washed out. Hope that's the right choice. Oh man, I'm shaking. I've been waiting for this for all my life.
Parking lot lights just came on.
What? The parking lot light just came on.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Sunset.
Oh, there's a blue awesome.
Somebody just dimmer switch, just slowly turning a dimmer switch now.
It's not red.
Huh?
It's not red. Like a sunset is. It's not
Yeah,
red.
it's just the sunset, and you can see it kind of comes across the ground. And slowly just like a dimmer switch.
Yeah.
Or it's happening quick now.
Absolutely incredible. Oh my goodness.
Oh shit.
Look at that. That is actually amazing. That is just amazing. And look at Venus. You can see Venus up there. And all around the horizon it's like sunset all the way around. I can see Venus. I don't know about the other planets. Oh, it's amazing.
Jupiter should be on the horizon.
Over there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Here it comes, the red edge.
Here he comes.
And the lights come back up on the theater. Oh man, that was incredible. That was incredible. That was amazing. And look at it now, it's doing everything in reverse. Now that's something you don't see every day. Yeah. Oh, I just see my whole life. I don't know if I'd ever see one. Oh man, that was just unreal. I want to see if I can get the crescents now going the other way. Only crescent shape. Can't really see, it's too small, but they're all crescent shape. Well, that image is burned on my brain, and not because I looked at it without the glasses. Well, folks, that was the eclipse. Now I know why I went on such a long trip to see it. And I have to say, all of you who've never seen an eclipse, you've got to go experience the one coming up in 7 years. You might have to drive a bit farther, but hey, it is worth it. It's indescribable. Video does not do it justice. And a big thanks to the lady who gave these to me, because I couldn't find any before I went.
Oh, there's no words to describe it. You'd have to be here to experience it. It was spiritual.
It was a gift and an event that spoke of God's glory and how tiny we are. A tiny speck in time and in the universe. It was a blessing to meet all these people.
It was wonderful. It was worth the trip. I'd like to do it again and plan to. So,
well,
yeah.
7 years from now.
7 years, yeah. I can only hope so.
I mean, there's other ones before that, but you have to go farther.
Yeah, right. So, but I enjoyed it tremendously and glad I came.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
The 12-hour drive. It was worth it.
That's what I say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely worth it.
Well, here I am driving back. I figured I'd put on as many miles as I could before I get too tired to go on. I'm not sure if I can do, I don't think I can do it in one stretch, but hey, not much left to say, to be honest. I mean, I think the video speaks for itself. Although you really have to be there to see it in person. So next time, let's do it with a few more people. Let's do a group trip. Sign off. I gotta tell you one quick story. It happened just before the totality. So the sun was a real thin crescent, and I had the solar glasses on. I thought, what would happen if I just saw it for just what I see the crescent, if I just saw it for a blink? Well, I lowered my glasses just a fraction of a second before, and I was blinded. And everywhere I looked was this red dot or a smear, and I thought, oh, no, I couldn't have damaged my retina from a split second looking at it. And it's right, everywhere I look there's a blue dot. I won't be able to enjoy the Corona totality. Of course, 5 minutes later, that image was gone from my retina, and 3 minutes later it was totality. And as they say, the rest is history. Still, it didn't give me pause. To be honest, I wasn't really looking forward to the drive back home. I was tired, and the anticipation of the eclipse was not driving me on like on the way down. But I had pulled over for a couple hours of sleep in the afternoon on the way back to Gillette, and after this beautiful sunset drive through the Wyoming wilderness, I pulled over again somewhere in Montana and got a good 6 hours of sleep. I made it back to Swan River Tuesday afternoon about 48 hours after leaving Saskatoon. It was a fun adventure that I will remember for a long time to come. If I had to do it all over again, the only thing I'd change is deciding more in advance and traveling with a group. Now you're probably tired of hearing the sound of my voice, so I'll end with a peaceful double-speed drive and some music I found on my computer. Happy trails!